In the last video, we mainly looked at the ancient Greek and Roman achievements in the area of mathematics and science, religion and philosophy, and even sports, so on and so forth. Now, in this video, we will turn our focus to the ancient Greek and Roman achievements in the areas of architecture and art, as well as politics. And when we talk about the ancient Greek achievement in the area of architecture, certainly we would be talking about their constructions of many beautiful temples. Say, for example, this one, the Temple of Parthenon. This temple was built in Athens, dedicated to the goddess of Athena, and now we can be able to see from this picture that, well, one very important feature of this building was that tall columns was used in the ancient Greek buildings in order to support some heavy structure here. And well, to decorate these buildings, the ancient Greek artists also make some statues. They make statues with some white marble or even bronze. And now, the Greek ideas to construct their buildings were also found in the ancient Roman buildings. The ancient Romans built many palaces, temples, theaters, circuses, and forums. And we can be able to find that they took ideas from the ancient Greek buildings, and they also used tall columns in their constructions. Now, we can certainly refer to this picture for evidence. Now, you can be able to identify that here columns are used. Okay, columns are used in their buildings, and this famous building and this famous Roman building is the Colosseum. And now, just like in the area of language and literature, the Romans used some Greek letters, but they did not use all of them. They would change some of them and use them in their Latin language. And in the area of architecture, we can find that the same thing also happened here, and we can be able to identify that, well, the ancient Romans they built some large arches in their buildings. Here, these are the arches. Okay, and other than the use of arches, we can also find that the ancient Romans also used domes in their buildings, which can be found in this building, Pantheon. Here is the Pantheon. The dome is here. Okay, and we can be able to identify that modern architects also copied from the Greek and Roman buildings. Now, here is the evidence. Okay, so we from these pictures, we can be able to tell that, well, the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations did have a big impact on the subsequent civilizations. We can be able to see that people in subsequent centuries, or even nowadays, may also take some ideas from the ancient Greek and Romans and then incorporate into their own work. And if you want to know more about the ancient Roman architecture, you may certainly refer to these reading materials. And here are some YouTube videos on the Greek architecture. Now, when we talk about the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations, certainly we must look at their political achievements, and definitely we would not ignore the achievements of the Athenians in the establishment of a democracy. Now, the Athenians started the system of the democracy at about the year 500 BC, and democracy means that, well, it's a system of government that is ruled by the people. And actually, democracy is a combination of two Greek words meaning people and then rule. Okay, so that means the rule of the people. Now, the ancient Romans also took the Greek idea about democracy and developed a government with an upper house and lower house. Today, many countries still have governments with two houses, and one such country was the United States of America. However, I must point out that this statement may not be entirely true, or I would say this statement may be a little bit too simple. Actually, it means more than government with two houses. I will explain a little bit later. But before I explain why this statement is a little bit too simple, maybe I can say something about this picture. Definitely, I think you can recognize at least one of these three political figures. He is the present president of the United States, Donald Trump. Standing behind him was a man and a lady. So who are they? Now, actually, the man standing behind Mr. Donald Trump was also an important figure. Otherwise, he would not be able to stand behind him. He was Mike Pence. He is Mike Pence, and he is the Vice President of the United States. So, well, being a vice president, what is he supposed to do? Now, you may take a look at this website. Actually, this website. Oh, here. Actually, this website is the website of the United States Senate. Now, actually, the word Senate also tells us something about the importance of the ancient Greek and Roman civilization, because Senate is a political institution in the ancient Roman Republic. And then when the founding fathers of the United States set up their political system, they also use the names of a Roman political system, political institution, to name their political institution. So, under the Constitution of the United States of America, the Vice President of the United States serves as the President of the Senate and presides over the Senate's meetings. So, remember that there's a Senate in the United States, which was named after the Senate in the ancient Roman Republic. Now, so just now I introduced you to this lady. This lady was Nancy Pelosi. Wow, this website is a little bit slow, and she was the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, what's wrong with that? Maybe. Now, Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the United. Maybe we just take a look here. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, U.S. House of Representatives. Actually, she was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, meaning that she presides over the meeting of the House of Representatives. So, okay. Now, just now I say that the statement that many governments still have two houses is a little bit simple because when we look at the structure of the United States government, it is a little bit more complicated. And simply put, the U.S. government is divided into three branches: executive branch, and the head is the president, which is Donald Trump. Now, and Donald Trump, the U.S. president, is supported by the vice president, who was also the chairman of the Senate. Okay. So the vice president, who is the assistant of the American president, but he also presides over the meeting of the Senate, which is a house of the American legislature. Okay. Now, the American legislature is made up, which is the Congress, is made up of two houses, Senate and House of Representatives. So just now we have identified that the Vice President of the United States is the President of the Senate, and then that's Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. So therefore, we can be able to identify that many countries still have government with two houses. In the case of America, it means something different, or to be more accurate, we should say that the legislative branch of the U.S. government is made up of two houses. Okay, so it is more accurate. This saying is more accurate. Also, it may mean sometimes that the legislative branch of the government is made up of two houses, and which is shown in the case of the United States. Its legislative branch, known as the Congress, is made up of these two houses, Senate and House of Representatives. And Senate was first established in the ancient Roman Republic, and then when the founding fathers set up their political system, they named it after this ancient Roman republican institutions. Now, so having looked at the area of government, we would then look at the ancient Greek and Roman achievements in the area of law, and certainly we would talk about the Roman laws in here, and then we can be able to identify that, well, the Romans ruled their large empire by law, and the Roman laws stated that everyone was equal before the law, meaning that, well, two people committing the same crime would be given the same punishments. And then Roman laws would also protect the people's rights to their property. Nobody could take land away from a poor farmer. Roman citizens who lived outside Rome could appeal to Rome when they were tried in an unfair manner. So what does this mean? Say, for example, you are not living in the city of Rome, and you are punished because you have broken some law. However, you think that the judgment is unfair. Therefore, you make an appeal, and then you appeal to Rome in order to revise the judgment. So this is the appeal mechanism in the ancient Roman times. Now, the Roman laws had an important impact on the subsequent laws. Say, for example, here you can be able to find that, well, this is a PowerPoint prepared by a law professor in Canada, and he also stressed that the Canadian legal system is influenced by the Roman system. The Roman law would also be one of their the origins of the Canadian law. And here you may also refer to a YouTube video which was prepared by an Englishman, which introduced the concept of rule of law. And in the video, he also talks about one very important source of the British law is the Roman law. Wow, now we can turn to take a look at the town planning in the ancient Roman times. And the Roman towns were carefully built, and they have lots of facilities, lots of infrastructures, and the Roman Empire was a large empire. Therefore, they should build up a good transportation network in order to link up different parts of the empire. So many roads were built to link Rome with the other places, and Roman roads were generally straight and flat so that soldiers and traders could travel quickly. And sometimes high bridges called viaducts were also built to carry a road to across the valley. And then other infrastructure were also built to support the Roman towns. Say, for example, the aqueducts. The aqueducts were built in order to bring fresh water from faraway mountain to the city. These high bridges usually carry the canals across the valley, so that the Romans would be able to get some fresh water. Now here are some YouTube videos on the Roman town planning. And now we will move to the last area, which is the ancient Greek and Roman entertainment. And certainly we will mainly focus upon the Roman entertainment. They loved chariot races. They loved to watch them. These races were usually held in circuses, and the largest one was the Circus Maximus, which can hold 200,000 people. And definitely there would be lots of gamblings on the results of these races. And here you may refer to some videos on such chariot races. And the ancient Romans also liked going to public baths. The baths were the social center of every Roman city. Now, so you may be able to see that the ancient Romans, they would treat the public baths as social centers, and then at the public baths, they did a lot of things. Actually, you can be able to identify that they can meet other people, they talk with other people, they read books, they did exercises. Certainly, they would clean themselves and have meals. And wow, now you can be able to see that where there are many public baths in the city of Rome. There are about 1,000 public baths in the city of Rome at the time of AD 4th century. So that's why the Romans must ensure that there would be sufficient water supply to the city, to the Roman cities. Otherwise, they would not have enough water for them to drink and for them to use in the public baths. So that's why they need to build aqueducts. Now, here are some YouTube videos on the Roman public bath. If you like, you may take a look at some of these videos. Okay, so this is the end of our presentation. See you next time. Thank you.